and welcome to another episode of the Adrienne Ross Show. This is your first time tuning in. A special welcome to you. I'm going to start by saying thank you. I started out May with a goal. I had like 300 and maybe 80 subscribers or something on YouTube, and I said by the end of May, I'd like to have 500 subscribers. We're not even at the end of May, and we're approaching 2,000 subscribers. And I am appreciating that. I'm appreciating the new conversations with people. I'm appreciating the feedback. And so if you haven't subscribed, please do like, share, all that. And then also, of course, I'm on the podcast platform. So leave a rating, leave a review, subscribe there. I really appreciate it. Now, let's jump into today's topic. I've been talking a lot about sports, which if you know anything about the Adrienne Ross Show, you know that although my background is in teaching English in New York, from where I'm from, and I also coached for 6 years, high school girls varsity basketball. But I talk some about sports, but I really don't talk a whole lot. But lately, with the emergence of Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever season, I've been dealing a lot more in sports. And I'm enjoying it because that's a huge part of who I am. And in my background. Today, we're going to take it a little bit further because whereas there are people who say, sports not really important, I'm here to say today that what we see in sports and what we're seeing right now with Caitlin Clark's basketball story is about so much more than basketball. Billie Jean King, the former tennis player, she says sports is a microcosm of society, something that she said. Andrew Breitbart said politics is downstream from culture. Some people disagree with that statement, but I'm going to substitute politics there. And I'm going to say sports is downstream from culture. And I'm not going to disagree with Billie Jean King on this because what we see in the culture, what we see in society, we see in other aspects of our world, of this country, and again, probably of the world. And Caitlin Clark's story is no different. What does this story about this young woman, what's going on with her, how people are responding to her, what we see in basketball, women's basketball in particular right now, what are we seeing there that we can look at a bigger picture of? So it's going to be real talk today. I'm going to be real. I'm going to be straight. And so we're going to look at 5 areas of the basketball story right now, Caitlin Clark's story in particular, that speak to something larger that's going on in the culture. I'm going to show you quite a few things here. Some of you might disagree with some of this stuff. I just like to hear your comments and just be respectful when you do make them. Number one, this story, what's going on right now in the WNBA and Caitlin Clark reminds us that this is an entitlement culture we're living in now. Now, this is controversial when I say DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. When we talk about affirmative action, that can be a very controversial subject, and we probably have varying opinions on that. I'm going to say this. DEI and affirmative action, where some would say, and I would say, had their place at some point, perhaps. Right now, particularly with DEI, since affirmative action was given the axe, and that was controversial, there are people who have a mindset that you owe me something. And so, it's become a very hot button topic, but I see it everywhere. And sports is no different. There's a certain mindset that you have to give me something because I'm entitled to it. One of my major problems when it comes to affirmative action, when it comes to DEI, one of my major problems with that is not that there are people who are not qualified for certain things, although that is the case too sometimes. But my main concern about that, I should say one of my main concerns, is that when qualified people are placed in certain positions because of DEI pushing, because of affirmative action pushing, then people look at you and go, you don't deserve to be there. That's one of my major concerns. I just want to put that out because you hear people say it all the time, oh, she's just a DEI hire. Oh, he's just a DEI hire. And you know what? They may very well not be a quote unquote DEI hire. They may very well be qualified to be exactly where they are, but the stigma is there. And so having said that, there is an entitlement culture we live in because of things like that. And people begin to feel like you owe them something. And how does this impact? How does this have anything to do with basketball? Let me turn your attention to something I did an episode in. I did an episode about 2 months ago now on what if Caitlin Clark were Black? And I got a lot of heat when people just looked at the title and didn't watch the episode. But when people watched the episode, they realized where I was coming from. At the center of that episode was an article by a USA Today writer whose name is Lindsay Schnell. Her whole article was about the fact that Caitlin Clark should not be the face of women's basketball. She should not be the face of the WNBA. Why? Because she's white. Now, this was Lindsay Schnell is not a Black woman complaining about Caitlin Clark. She's a white woman who says that Black women or a Black woman should be the face because they're entitled to it because they have laid the foundation. So I picked apart that because that's what I'm talking about. And we see that in basketball where you have some of these young ladies who are coming out and who are saying, Caitlin Clark is only getting attention because she's white. And it shouldn't be Caitlin Clark. And there are people who absolutely feel that way. They have an issue with her because she's white, which makes absolutely no sense because Caitlin Clark is certainly not the first white person, and she's not the only person to be in the WNBA. But Lindsay Schnell, a white woman, feels that a Black woman is entitled, and so Caitlin is out of place. I picked that whole thing apart. Found it interesting. Where is Lindsay Schnell talking about, well, let Black women be the face of engineering. Let Black women be the face of education. No, Black women are supposed to be the face of the WNBA, of women's basketball, because they paved the way. Nobody got time for that mess. This is the problem with entitlement. We don't have time for that, okay? What we want are players who can play, white, Black, or otherwise. But this is the culture we're living in. I'm entitled. I'm entitled to this job. I'm entitled to this place in the university. I'm entitled. And you know what? Some just aren't up to the task, and some are, but there's a stigma attached to them because of things like entitlement and this entitlement culture we're living in. So that's number one. But I will say this, in spite of that pervasive mindset, and it is becoming pervasive, hard work still pays off. And then you add the favor of God on top of that, all things are possible. So entitlement culture, we see it in this situation with basketball right now. Number two, greatness is under attack. Greatness in our society is under attack. Mediocrity seems to be what people are, people are inclined to model mediocrity, unfortunately, doing enough just to get by. And so when you do your job well, when you are great, you make other people look not so great. And so it is under attack. And, jealousy comes along with all those things. And yes, we're seeing that. People can deny all they want, but we're seeing that in this situation, in this time, with women's basketball and Caitlin Clark. It's nothing new. Kobe was great, and he was attacked. Michael Jordan was great, and he was attacked. So that's nothing new. But what, to use Asia Wilson's term, what boils my blood is when folks pretend that this type of attack isn't really in existence. We know that it is. And so let me take you to a video by Elle Duncan, the ESPN sports anchor, who went berserk on the topic of Caitlin Clark. So let's take a look at what she had to say.
Want them to do what? This is only women that get this. I'm tired of it. Like, here's my thing, you guys. What else? Who are these girls? Who are these girls that are hating on Caitlin Clark? Are you just combing through Twitter? What else are these women supposed to do? Fawn over her? Fangirl over her? Bend the knee? Kiss the ring? Like, what do you want from them? We cannot, every time the girl plays a game, she got 40 games, guys. She got 35 more games. We are not every single game going to revisit and retread this same tired ass rhetoric that all these girls are hating on her and they need to be thankful. They have been.
Sure.
They've said it time and time and time again. You want the girl every single time she walks out onto the court? What are we supposed to do? You want them all to give Caitlin their firstborn? Like, what are you looking for? It is embarrassing because if this was the men and you just watched a bunch of other dudes fawn over someone all the time, you'd call them weak. That would be a soft move. Where's your competition? Where's the animus that used to be in the NBA when they really hated each other? Now they're all friends. It's so boring. We hate it. With women, you want them to do what? This is only women that get this. I'm tired of it. Like, here's my thing, you guys. What else? Who are these girls? Who are these girls that are hating on Caitlin Clark? Are you just...
Okay. She's a little dramatic. You know, I wonder why. I wonder why. And this is the thing that gets me. We know that there are people hating on Caitlin Clark. Not everybody in the WNBA is hating on Caitlin Clark. Not every media personality is hating on Caitlin Clark. Not everybody on Twitter is hating on Caitlin Clark. But you're just disingenuous if you are going to tell us that that doesn't exist, that her greatness is not under attack. You're just, and you're blowing up because you know it's true. Even, you know, you want us to fawn over her? You want us? No, what we want, yeah, we do want you to be grateful. They've said it over and over. You know what? I'm watching and hearing people pretending that their attendance has been through the roof already. I saw that after the Indiana Fever played the Seattle Storm, but there was Lloyd's comments, and she tried to pretend, oh, this is nothing new. This crowd is nothing new. They're out here to see us. And then the reporter had to kind of point out to her, this is new. You haven't had a crowd like this in years, in a couple of years. And so, and even that was rare. So pretending, you know, that it's all about you is disingenuous. But greatness is under attack, and people like to downplay what is great. I'm not saying Caitlin doesn't have to prove herself. I'm not saying, you know, she's all that in a bag of chips, although she is all that in a bag of chips. But she still has to prove herself. She still has to continue to play. It's only been a few games, more than any other team, by the way. So greatness has always been attacked in culture, and so it is trickle down to sports. Now, for me, it's not that Caitlin Clark is reviled by so many, whether on the court or in the basketball world. That is not the thing. To me, it's why. And a lot of it, and I'm reading it and I'm seeing it, and Elle should not be pretending that that people don't take to Twitter to express themselves and they don't get fodder from that, all this stuff. So, you know, people are clear that they don't like her, some simply because she's white. Who's this white girl from Iowa? And I pointed it out. You need to go back to my episode on what if Caitlin Clark were black. Okay. For some people, that's an issue. That she's from Iowa is a double issue. So let's not pretend. So no, greatness being under attack is nothing new. People who like mediocrity, people who want to shine themselves, but don't necessarily want to work as hard or simply aren't as gifted. Sometimes they hate on people who are great, who work hard, and call it the favor of God. seem to be excelling. But when you hate on someone because of their race or where they're from, I don't have a lot of tolerance for that. And again, lest I be misquoted, not saying that's everyone. There's a whole lot, and I'm seeing it out there. So that's number two. Okay. Number one, entitlement culture. Number two, greatness is under attack. Number three, and this is really sad, we have lost ground on the race issue, which is so sad, which is piggybacking off of what I just said. The race issue. Here we are in 2024, and there are people who still feel like, who's this white girl? There are people who will tell you, white girl need to sit down. There are people who, I mean, racism is real. I'm not going to pretend racism doesn't exist. But you know what? Race baiting, excuse the bad English, might be realer. And if you want to deny that what I'm saying is true, you're just not telling the truth. Race baiting is a thing. You see it in the culture. You see it in politics. People exploit race. They call people race. Everything is racist. It's unfair. And you know what? Let's call out racism when it's there. But let's not call everything racism. When you do, your argument is watered down. Asia Wilson, who is, a great player. She plays for the Las Vegas Aces, two-time champions, right? She comes out and she says it boils her blood when people say that Caitlin Clark's popularity is not about race. She said it boils my blood because it is. And that because she's a Black woman, she can't get but so far because she's Black. So this is what I call race baiting, because she's trying to say that people are only interested in Caitlin Clark because she's white. What kind of mess is that? I mean, Jamel Hill, another one, that's what she does. This is because she is white, because there ain't never been another white player in the WNBA. All right. Sunny Hostin from The View. I don't watch The View, but of course, this got a lot of play. Sunny Hostin made similar comments and then some about Caitlin Clark and her quote unquote white privilege.
Is a thing called pretty privilege. There is a thing called white privilege. There is a thing called tall privilege. And we have to acknowledge that. And so the part of it is about race, because if you think about the Brittany Griners of the world, why did she have to go to play in Russia?
They wouldn't pay
Because
her.
they wouldn't pay her.
They wouldn't pay,
Not
not because she was Black, but because they didn't believe in the WNBA.
This is part of my point. So now, Caitlin Clark is bringing this money, these sponsorships, we hope, into the league, and other players will benefit from it. But I do think that she is more.
Okay, so stop there. She just said she's probably bringing sponsorships and more money into the league, and other players will benefit from it. That should be the end of the story. But this is Sunny Hostin, and we're living in the race baiting culture. So let me back up just a little bit, and let's hear the big but she inserts.
But I do think that she is more relatable to more people because she's white, because she's attractive. And unfortunately, there still is that stigma against the LGBTQ plus community. 70% of the WNBA is Black. A third of the players are in the LGBTQ plus community. And we have to do something about that stigma in this country. I think that people have a problem with basketball playing women that are lesbians. Who cares?
Who cares? She says, who cares? Meanwhile, apparently she does, because she just said a whole mouthful. Caitlin Clark's gonna do great things for the league, but there's pretty privilege, there's white privilege, there's tall privilege, there's straight privilege. Like there ain't never been a pretty, white, tall, straight person in the WNBA. But Caitlin Clark is supposed to be apologetic, I suppose, for all those things. This is what I call race baiting. You take someone's success, someone who's clearly been successful, and you diminish it to it's because she's white. And then of course you got to add the straight and all this other, all this other thing, because that's the culture too. You got to turn everything around to fit the agenda, whether it's LGBTQ, whether it's being white, whether it's being, I get pretty and tall and all. I mean, I didn't never heard of the tall privilege, but I guess at 6 feet, Caitlyn has tall privilege also. But this is where we have lost ground on the issue of race, which is absolutely sad. Now, I don't typically agree with Whoopi Goldberg about anything, really, but I got to applaud her for her comments. I did an article on my Substack, and I'm gonna put the link in the show notes, because if you are not subscribed to my Substack, adrienneross.substack.com, you really should subscribe. There are a few subscription options. But I did an article because Hillary Clinton did an interview with the New York Times in February, but it was just published a few days ago. And in that interview, she said that the reason why she didn't win the presidency in 2016 is because she's a woman. Now, I don't know how many of y'all love Hillary Clinton or not, or whatever, but that's such a cop-out. She didn't say it was Benghazi Gate. She didn't say it was, Clinton Foundation Gate. She didn't say it was, all the voters, half of these voters are in a basket of deplorables. It's not that, it's not email gate. It's not just being unlikable. It's because she's a woman. Like I said, there are people who are entitled, and there are people who love to play some kind of card. Well, in this case, when we talk about Caitlyn and the race baiting, maybe I could look at what Sonny's saying as true, having truth to it. If Caitlyn Clark didn't have any, if she didn't have the basketball background to back up the attention she's getting. She broke various and sundry records during college, as I point out in my article. Having the most points in NCAA history, the most career three-pointers, the most tournament three-pointers, the most assists. I went on to say, I said, as the #1 WNBA draft pick, she has sold out arenas in all of her 6 regular season games so far. She's played another game since then, but all of her 6 regular games so far. And that was sold out as well, the 7th. And as Gil's Arena covered on Friday, I said, and this is a quote, since the draft in April, revenue from the WNBA's online store is up more than 2,000%, already surpassing total sales for the 2023 season. And then I said she joins the elite list, 3 people long, herself, recently retired star Candace Parker, and the New York Liberty's Sabrina Ionescu as, quote, quoting from Gil's Arena, the only rookies, those 3, with 85 plus points, 25 plus assists, 20 plus rebounds in their first 5 career games. Okay, let me insert here. She's done this in spite of all the shade thrown at her, the double and triple teams, the hard fouls on her, the ticky-tack fouls called against her, and without even shooting to her full capacity. Oh, and we must not forget that with her entrance into the league, teams were given charter flights. And that's just a drop in the bucket of her value. Oh, and I'd be remiss if I didn't add, she's handling it all without complaining, always being gracious, and not clapping back at all the nonsense hurled in her direction from jealous players and hateful race-baiting observers. Here's where history is made when I actually agree with Whoopi Goldberg. She said, to have her reduced, meaning Caitlyn, to have her reduced that way bothered me a lot because this is her record. Unless you can show me who's got a better record than this is why she's getting the attention she's getting, because she's a damn good player. And it doesn't matter whether she's straight or gay. Ain't nobody crying when she's making those balls. So maybe we might be able to look at what Sonny Hostin said if we were talking about some girl who couldn't play ball. Makes no sense. But again, we race bait. That's the culture we're living in. So that's number 3. Okay. And in addition to that, again, check out my episode on what if Caitlyn Clark were Black. But also, some people would be real. After I did that episode, someone very close to me said to me, I saw your episode. And she said, it really made me look inside myself. She said, I had to ask myself, am I a racist? She was talking about her response to Caitlin Clark, and it caused her to soul search. And that's a cool thing, because we do need to soul search. So for those who say, that's ridiculous, listen, people who are being honest are saying, is my issue with her, does it have anything to do with race? Am I a racist? There are people who are race baiting, and there are people who are just, and I'm not saying this particular person was just soul searching, but there are people out there who might have to look themselves in the mirror and say, you know what, I'm a racist, and forget that mindset that, if you're Black, you can't be racist. That's nonsense, okay? If you don't like to use the word racist, then call yourself prejudiced, call whatever you want, but that exists for some people. Again, not saying this is everybody, but this culture we're living in lends itself to this, and of course, we're gonna see it in the sports world too, all right? Myself, I get attacked sometimes, and others also, because I don't fall in line with the narrative as a Black person. I've had people leave comments and say, I saw your video and I came over because I thought you were one of us, but I see you're not. Why? Because I was supporting Caitlin Clark. I got a recent comment from someone who said, how dare you support Caitlin rather than Angel Reese? Why? Because I'm Black. And I got a news bulletin for everybody, okay? I am not going to be put in a box. I'm not going to be put in a box politically. I'm not going to be put in a box concerning my values. I'm not going to be put in a box for anything. I can think for myself. So it is so unfair that whether we're talking about politics, sports, or anything, you're Black, you're expected to think a certain way. If you don't, then you get attacked. That is sick. And it's racist and it's small thinking. And yet they want to always talk about Martin Luther King, who said we should not be judged by the color of our skin, but by the content of our character. To me, that doesn't mean we don't see color. I can't stand the people who say, I don't see race. There's nothing applaudable by saying, I never even noticed you're a Black woman. Listen, I'm Black. There's nothing wrong with talking about issues that pertain to race, but to be racist, to only see race and to think that people have to fall in line based on race, that's not the content of character we're talking about. I reject it wholeheartedly. So that's 3. Number 1, we have an entitlement culture. Number 2, greatness is under attack. Number 3, we've lost ground on the race issue, sadly. Number 4, we live in a self-absorbed, give me mine culture. So whether we're talking about the issue of life, I'm pro-life. Whether we're talking about that issue of life, whether we're talking about the instant gratification of thievery, whether we're talking about jealousy of a basketball player, we've lost sight of reality. Many people, we want to gratify self, we want convenience, we want to gratify our ego, at the expense of the bigger picture. We want to talk about my truth rather than the truth. We will coddle our ego and deny reality to promote or placate ourselves at the expense of truth. We'd rather live in delusion than ride with reality. When I mentioned Lloyd from the Seattle Storm, she was trying to say that fans came out to see them and they always have. No, that's not the truth. That might be your truth, but it's not the truth. But that placates you. You're so absorbed in yourself. Too many people are interested in self. How do we, so we've got a problem right now with basketball because there's more than one team. You hear people saying that, coaches even, there's more than one team. There's more than one player. They're not just coming for her. Yeah, people are coming, but let's tell the truth. The masses of people who are now coming, the merchandise now being sold. I shared the stats with you. They weren't there before, but you would rather say, hey, it's about us. It's all about us. It's not about you. And this is what Duncan misses. Gratitude is not pretending something is that isn't. And when you're self-absorbed and it's all about give me, then you miss the bigger picture. Whether it's right or whether it's wrong, too many people were not interested enough to watch the women's game. And now they are. I'm getting comments from people who saying, I never watched the WNBA game, or I half watched the WNBA game, but because I tuned in and I saw Caitlin Clark, now I'm seeing so many other players, and I'm becoming not just a fan of Caitlin Clark, I'm becoming a fan of women's basketball. That should be what people want. But because we're so self-absorbed in this culture, and it's about give me mine, there are people who would rather go back to basic obscurity. I talked about this in a recent episode. Go back and look at my stuff. There are people who would rather have that than have Caitlin Clark in the spotlight. It's just true. And they're delusional, and they want to believe that it's all about them, when we all know that's not true. So I can't tell if they're delusional or just some of them just haters. I shared in an episode about, I had a student, I taught 7th grade English. This was a student who played basketball and had a good basketball career in high school as well. But I remember in English class, we were talking about basketball, and I asked him, would you rather drop, I don't know if I said 20, 25, whatever, would you rather drop that amount of points in a game and lose, or would you rather score nothing or hardly anything and win? He was 7th grade, and he thought about it, and he said, I'd rather score 20, 25 points, whatever, and lose. But that's childish. And he gets a pass because he was in 7th grade. Ask him the same question as a senior. I hope his answer would have been different. But that's an immature, self-absorbed, give me mine culture. And unfortunately, we can see through sports even, it trickles down that there are grown folk and grown women who feel the same way. They would rather go back to basic obscurity as long as it makes them look like top dog. So, number five of how, sports is a microcosm of society and the culture. And this is going to probably make some people shake their heads. I'm not saying I feel this way, but I've heard people say what they see when they look at society and culture. You hear people say, women and men, I should say, and women say that women should not hold big time positions of leadership. Now, I don't agree, but do they have a point? I've heard women as well as men say we should never have a woman president because women are too petty, too catty, too emotional. And I'm not saying it, but that is a thought that's out there in our society, in our culture. And credit to Charles Barkley for standing up for Caitlin Clark and calling out who he calls petty women in the WNBA. So let's take a look at what Charles Barkley said, and he's given a shout out also to LeBron James, who spoke up.
You women out there, y'all petty, man. Hey, LeBron, you're 100% right on these girls hating on Caitlin Clark. Y'all petty, girls. I expect men to be petty because we're the most insecure group in the world. You are. Y'all should be thanking that girl for getting y'all ass private charters, all the money and visibility she bring into the WNBA. Don't be petty like dudes. Listen, what she's accomplished, give her her flowers. Stop being petty, all you women out there. She got y'all ass charters. She bringing all y'all this money to the table, but y'all being petty like dudes. LeBron, you are 100% right. Y'all girls, stop being petty. Caitlin Clark, thank you for bringing all that money and shine to the WNBA. Well, they gonna hate you.
And you know what? You see the guys in the background, and they're laughing because they're thinking the same thing. This mess is petty. And I'm hearing a lot of guys who know the game, who've played the game, say the same thing. And therefore, I'm going to make my point about why some people say women should not be in positions of leadership because they're too catty, too petty. Now, I do disagree with Charles Barkley when he said that men are the ones who are usually petty. I think everybody agrees, women and men, that nobody can be as petty as women can be. And I don't know if it's because we're more emotional and we haven't learned to control those emotions sometimes, some women. But let me show you this. If you think I'm lying, this is a microcosm of society. I'm going to take you to the United States Congress, women who are representing the nation, who have been voted in to represent us on the world stage. We want to talk about petty and catty. in our culture? Let me show you this. This is Representatives Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Representative Jasmine Crockett and Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene. You would not believe that this was Congress, okay? So let me show you this. This mess is off the hook. Check these women out.
Do you know what we're here for? You know we're here about. I don't think you know what you're here for.
Well, you the one talking about.
I think your fake eyelashes are messing up.
No, ain't nothing.
Hold on.
Listen.
Order.
Mr.
That's
Chairman,
beneath
would
even
you
order.
use the beginning order of your committee?
Order.
I would like to move to take down Ms. Green's words. That is absolutely unacceptable. How dare you
Meeting will
attack the
suspend,
peaceful
meeting will
appearance of another
suspend.
person.
Are your
Move
feelings
her
hurt?
words down.
Oh,
Oh, girl, baby girl.
oh, really?
Don't even play.
Baby girl,
We're
I
gonna,
don't
we
think.
are gonna move and we're gonna take your words down.
I second that motion.
You agree to strike your words?
Yeah.
Okay. That Ms. Green agrees to strike her words.
I believe she
Chair
apologized.
recognizes-
No.
Perry,
apologize.
okay, hold on. Then after Mr. Perry's gonna be recognized, then Ms.
I'm
Green
not
still has 4 minutes and
apologizing.
21
Well,
seconds.
then.
Okay,
do
reserve
not
the right
say
to
your words.
Perry.
I am
You're
not
not
apologizing.
Now let's go. Come on, guys.
Why don't you debate me?
Mr. Chairman, the
I
minority.
don't know. Self-evident.
You're not.
Yeah, you're not,
out of order.
you don't have enough
You're out of order.
intelligence.
Chair recognizes Mr. Perry.
Okay, move to strike
I'd like
the,
to
I move to strike the
those
lady's
words as
words.
well.
Move to
I would
strike
like to
the
as
lady's
well.
words again.
That's 2 requests to strike. That's 2 requests to strike.
Oh, they cannot take the
And there's
word.
another motion to strike her words again.
All right,
Please get
okay,
your members under
here's the
control.
correct priority. Ms. Green, you asked unanimous, do you agree to unanimous consent to strike your words?
I repeat again for the second time. Yes, I'll
All
strike
right.
my words,
That-
but I'm not
Without
apologizing.
objection.
I'm just curious, just to better understand your ruling. If someone on this committee then starts talking about somebody's bleach blonde, bad built bush body, that would not be engaging in personalities, correct?
What now?
Chairman, I make a motion to strike those words.
I don't think that's
Hold
a
on.
part of it.
Trying to find clarification on what
Chairman,
qualifies.
motion to
I had
strike
no
those
idea what
words.
you said.
We're not gonna do this. Look, you guys earlier literally just.
Oh, y'all did it first.
Voted to do
Y'all
it.
did it first, so you don't want to talk about
Voted to do it.
Order.
I'm trying to get
Okay.
clarification.
Look at, calm down, calm
No,
down.
because this
I
is
would
what
like
I'm
to
gonna
end
do.
the proceeding.
So I'm trying
Hey,
to
Ms.
get
Crockett,
clarification.
you're not recognized. Ms. Crockett.
You're yelling. Calm down.
No,
Can you please calm
Don't
down.
tell me to calm down.
Calm down.
Because y'all talk
Calm
noise,
down.
and then you
You're
can't
out of
take it.
control.
Cause if I
Look,
come,
Chairman,
if I
can we
come and
send
talk
outside to
shit
take a
about
break
her,
for 5
y'all gonna have a
Mr. Chairman, Mr.
Order.
Well, if that were a soap opera, that were the Jerry Springer show, be downright funny. Guys, these are members of Congress. Even the men didn't know what to do. And when Representative Crockett said, if I, bleach blonde, butch body, whatever she said, the guy, Comer said, a what? He didn't know what to say. The guys could not handle these out of control women. And so I'm not saying that a woman should never be president, a woman should never be leading in government. I'm saying that there is a mindset that because of stuff like that, which, again, microcosm of society, sports, it's a microcosm of society, because of the pettiness. Now that right there in Congress is extreme. But we're seeing all the emotions. We're seeing that, people putting up tweets like Angel Reese did, then trying to, surreptitiously remove the tweet, appearing to be about Caitlin Clark, all the petty stuff, all the jealousy. There's a reason why the men are coming out. There's a reason why Charles Barkley said something, why LeBron James said something, why other people are saying something, people are talking about all over, because the pettiness is there. And you can deny it like L. Duncan if you want, but we all know that it's there. And so people say, you know what? Maybe women shouldn't be leading. And that's a sad thought, but it is a thought I hear out there. And you know what? On Gil's Arena, Rashad McCants, he really broke this thing down concerning how this applies to the WNBA as far as Caitlin Clark goes.
Listen, what happens?
It's a very good thing.
What happens when a woman's territory is threatened?
She would cut her nose off with a spider face.
tear down that. You in my space?
Mm-hmm.
Get the out of here. I ain't used to this. That's all we seeing. It's a threat to the territory, and it's new, and it ain't never been seen before. So they gotta adjust to her coming in and doing what she's doing for the league, and it's gonna take some time. Because you think about it, everyone that was getting attention not getting the same attention.
But
Yeah,
I would disagree and say they're getting more.
It's not focused on them.
It don't, what I'm saying is, I was number one, right? Getting all the attention, but the attention's right here. Now I'm number three, but my attention is here. Then that's what they have to look at. They have to look at, I made $230,000 last year being an MVP or whatever. I made nobody talking about me, but I made $500,000.
Gilbert, what main chick wants to go to the third chick?
That's the problem. That's society.
You heard what he said? That's society. And this is exactly what I'm saying. Society. Sports is a microcosm of society. If politics is downstream from culture, as Andrew Breitbart said, sports is downstream from culture. Culture dictates a lot. That's why we need people of integrity to change the culture and the atmosphere. But here you see what these guys are saying. What happens when a woman's territory is threatened? He's saying that's how they're seeing this. They're seeing it as petty, as Charles Barkley said. They're seeing it as catty, like we see in Congress, talking about fake eyelashes and butch bodies and all, all this nonsense. Oh, please, baby girl, please. We saw that from our Ocasio-Cortez. So we talk about how we want to be respected and we want to be valued and we want our place. And then we get this kind of nonsense. And then we wonder why people are like, I don't know, we ready for a woman president. I don't know if I'm ready to vote for a woman for this, that, or the other thing. Well, are we giving them reason? Not me. But are they giving them reason to feel that way? Again, it's in the larger culture. We see it in the sports. So again, just five. I could go on, I'm sure. Entitlement culture, we see it right now. Oh, the black person is supposed to be the face. Let's have DEI faces of the WNBA. Greatness is under attack. And that's not new, but why are we attacking Caitlin Clark? We've lost ground on the race issue, the racism. Some might call it reverse racism, prejudice, whatever. And race baiting, which we see throughout our culture, throughout our politics. It's sick. It becomes a game. We see it in this self-absorbed gimme mine culture that people would rather be the top dog than to see the bigger picture and support, because we all are benefiting here. And then, of course, we see it in the perception towards women and their ability to lead within our culture. Here's the thing about Caitlin Clark as I wrap up. With all this, she remains above the fray. There are going to be people who watch this who are going to say, oh, why are you just making excuses for her? Oh, why are you just acting like everybody hates her? Oh, I'm not saying that. Everybody doesn't hate Caitlin Clark, but there's too much of it for reasons that are ridiculous. Stuff like Sunny Hostin saying it's because she's white, because she's tall, because she's pretty, because she's straight, because she's whatever, as if she never accomplished anything, as if she's not marketable, as if she, Asia Wilson, it boils my blood, and then sits up there next to her coach, Becky Hammond, who says, no, just stop the black and white thing. Does she not know that it's her player, her star player, who's the one who's running her mouth about it? So again, I tend to see things anyway in a larger way, to see the big picture. What we're seeing right now is a cultural issue, and it bleeds into every area of our lives. And so we need to be people of integrity who stand up for what's right, who are humble. And that I see that in Caitlin Clark. I see, despite all this, she's just like, I'm tuning out. all the stuff. I don't get involved in the social media stuff. I have a job to do. I'm going to do that job. You don't hear her saying anything negative about anybody. I like people like that. I really do. Guardians of Liberty in Southeast Missouri has the mission to engage, educate, and empower, particularly on the local level, so that we can be equipped to proclaim liberty throughout all the land. They meet at 5 o'clock on Tuesdays at Delmonico's in Jackson, Missouri, but they're on their summer schedule. And so there will be no meeting on May 28th. The next meeting will be June 18th with Dr. Doug Frank. Dr. Douglas G. Frank is an elections expert, and he will be talking about hackable elections. That's June 18th at 5 o'clock p.m. at Delmonico's in Jackson. Check it out. If you've ever owned a car, you know that a car has to be maintained, and every once in a while it needs a little extra something. And when that happens, you want to be able to take it to someone you trust. DL Transmissions offers a free transmission inspection, just like the owner Daryl's dad, Ben LeGrand, did back in 1953. Now, Daryl is proud to continue his father's tradition by offering his honest expert knowledge at, I said it, no charge. DL Transmissions continues to be a heartland tradition for quality transmission repair you can depend on. Pick up the phone and call them at 573-334-8726. So anyway, there you go. Again, subscribe to the Adrienne Ross Show on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button, hit the like, hit the share. Let's like, share. It helps in the algorithm, and share with your friends. Also go to a podcast platform and like and subscribe there as well. And also go to the BMG Network. I'm a part of the BMG Network. That is thebmgnetwork.com, where there are other podcasters who are engaging, enlightening, informative, and yes, entertaining. And I'm planning to do more shorter videos. I do the once a week Tuesday thing, but I also want to do other ones along the way. And that's because some people have asked for that. So I think that's really cool. And I guess that's about it. AdrienneRoss.substack.com. Don't want to forget that. Go subscribe over there. My writing is there. I'm a writer. I'm an author. I'll tell you more about my books another time. But AdrienneRoss.substack.com. Everywhere you can. Subscribe, like, share, all that. Hey, I want God to bless you abundantly. I'll catch you next time, God willing.